And so the change formula is an opportunity to really ground into your life and invite continuous change and adaptivity into your life as the world is ever evolving and ever changing. This formula shows us a practical way of actually engaging in that in a conscious way, if we're willing, and I'll come back to that later. So here you see the change formula. Just take a moment to read that. So it's here. And I'm going to walk you through what this all means. Yeah. So C, here at the very end, stands for change. What change really means in its basic form is from sameness to difference. So humans, we like routine, we like sameness, we like knowing what's ahead of us. We like the same things. And even people that say they like change, they only tend to like change that they invite in. So people that are traveling a lot or doing a lot of different things in life, for them, change is actually maybe sitting in the boring or sitting in the nothingness. So we tend to operate in certain patterns of behaving, thinking, feeling, etc. And this tends to have a level of sameness to it. And change really stands for difference. Can we invite in difference to our norm? And again, the norm for each and every one of you is going to be different. So can it be different for each and every one of you? And so this formula is going to be very personalized. It's going to be very different for each one of you. And I invite you into a curiosity and inquiry into what's really different for you. What is really outside of your comfort zone? Because change is never within your comfort zone. It's just not. And so in that sense, we're going to go to R, which is resistance. Resistance to change is a human condition. It is quote unquote natural. We don't necessarily like change. Change is almost always about letting go of the known and stepping into the unknown. And in that naturally arises resistance. There's naturally what we can call a form of fear or an energy in the body that starts to contract or prepare. Yeah. We have all different strategies of dealing with that resistance, but that resistance is it's across the board. Every human experience is a level of resistance when there's change. How we respond to the change will make all the difference. How we respond to the resistance will make all the difference in our lives. And how we move from resisting and keeping in that loop into actually recognizing the resistance and then moving with. That is pretty much the key into an easeful life. Now V, which is here in the beginning of the formula, so here at the very beginning, V stands for vision. A vision is a picture of a preferable future. This is just how we define vision. So some sort of picture, and it can also be a real felt sense of your preferable future, a preferable outcome, preferable way of living, maybe in business, life, relationships, health, well-being, spiritual health, what's possible for you creatively in terms of the way you want to look, feel, sound like, etc., etc. Yeah. So, but there's a picture, there's a sensation, there's a feeling that come with that. And a goal. Yeah. So there's some outcome, some goal that is preferable. Yeah. That's the vision. D stands for dissatisfaction. So the reason we put this one in the formula is because most people do not change because of vision, actually. They change because of pain or dissatisfaction with the status quo. So if you really observe humans and you observe human behavior, and you see this globally, worldwide, humans tend to, and always will, move away from pain and move towards pleasure. Again, how pain and pleasure is defined by each human is very, very different. However, this is innate in our being. We move away from pain and towards pleasure. And how you can see that in today's modern world is through commercials and through the news. So the news is pretty much, there's a war here, there's a bomb has exploded here, there's a murder here. Pain, 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 pain. There's a virus coming here, watch out. There's this happening here with the government, watch out. There's this going to shit, watch out. So pain, 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 pain. It's all pain. It's all pain. If you really watch it, it's all pain. Various forms, various degrees, pain, nonetheless. Now, then you look at commercials, you look at television commercials in terms of fashion, or the new iPhone, or new cars, or this beautiful house, or this boat, or whatever it might be, this holiday, that is all pleasure. Pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure. And so we constantly get fed social media, another form of pleasure, 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 pain, pain, pain. Yeah, so we constantly get fed with all of this imagery and all of this information around pain and pleasure. And we tend to only really change and are ready to change when there's enough pain. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it, but unfortunately, most humans tend to only really change when there's enough pain. Where we're kind of comfortable, we're kind of good, there tends to be not enough of motivation for everyone. Of course, what we here partially to do to lean into is to change before that happens, but yet for most of it, this is going to be the case. And the status quo could be defined differently, right? The status quo could be the quality of your relationship, the type of your work you're doing, the quality of your health, the level of thinking that you're able to think upon. So again, if we go back to stages of human development, most of the time, the only reason why people shift up into stages of development is because the status quo, so the current level of thinking and feeling, is not serving them anymore. There's too much pain in that, actually. And that's why they move up to the next level, because society demands it of us. The complexity of the world today demands it of us. And if we can't do it, we're going to experience a hell of a lot of pain. But once you start to realize and see this pattern, you can work with this. And that's the beauty of this. So D stands for dissatisfaction. First steps. So FS here, right here, stands for first steps. So first steps are the drive train to get the energy of motivation into action. They are the what of the V times D are the what, and the V and times D are the why. So the first steps really stand to the what. Yeah, what is there to be done? Whilst the V times D are really the why. Why are we doing this? So there's the V times D is really the vision combined with the dissatisfaction. And that then gives us the what to do and how to do it. So V as first steps gives us what to do and how to do it. What are we actually doing and how are we actually going to do it? Once we have the vision, we have the dissatisfaction, how are we going to actually change it and do it? Now, willingness is the whole game. The willingness to change. And being willing to change is very different from knowing how to change, or from even knowing that you kind of need to change, or further still from wanting to change. Many, many people want to change. Most people are not willing to change. And let's take a moment to let that sink in. You're like, yeah, I want to change. No. Willingness and wanting are two very, very different things. Willingness is a genuine, almost need to change. You know, if you're not going to change, it's not going to end up well. It needs to be an incredibly deep intrinsic drive within, from the core of your being. That's where the will to change comes from. Wanting to change is kind of looking a bit more superficial. Oh, I would like to change. That's a very different level of energy. And for any change to be sustainable and to really genuinely occur, there needs to be a willingness. The willingness to change. And you know, the famous saying, when there's a will, there's a way. Well, that's very true. When we really, 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 really are willing, we will find a way. Some people might say, I really want to change, but I don't know how. You don't want it bad enough. It's that simple. If you really, really want to change, like on a deep level, you are really willing to change, you will find your way. And that's a part of this change formula, is to really show that. Fear is, of course, a very important, that's why fear is mentioned here. Fear is, of course, a very important part of what stops us from changing. when we're afraid, we don't tend to want to change. Even if we think, like, again, even if we think we want to really change, fear is still stopping us. The pain, and this is where the pain comes in again, the pain needs to almost be unbearable in order to stay where we are. That for most humans, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it works, is that it's only then where we're really willing to change. So fear is really our ally, and fear is our gateway, which is so useful to know. Fear is our gateway to the willingness to change. So coming back to here, you can start to work with this formula. So you can start to work with your vision and fill that in, right? What is the vision that you have? What is the dissatisfaction that's here for you? What are some of the resistance that are coming up? And what are the first steps you'd like to take? And we're going to walk through this in more detail, and then change will happen. Yeah, the outcome of that is naturally going to be change. So we're going to fill that in. You can start to already, as we walk through, maybe some things pop up. You can start to make some notes on that. Now, how do we measure willingness? We walk through the 15 commitments. And really what you can ask yourself the question to, and only if there's a whole body yes, you are fully willing. And so I'm going to walk you through these few questions and feel into your system as you have maybe your scenario or you've got your scenario or your situation in mind, or your way of being, operating relationally, something you are willing to change. You've got that in mind, and we're gonna sort of sense test that into our own body. Yeah. So if there's not a whole body yes, there's no willingness. And this is the thing, it's okay to not have willingness. As a matter of fact, it is more important to know that you're not willing than to pretend that you are, and then fall into all sorts of other traps, right? So it's very important to just acknowledge, I'm not willing. Okay, well, that's fine. Then you're just happy where you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, we celebrate that. That's beautiful. Yeah, so really be honest with yourself here. Are you willing to take 100% responsibility in this situation, in this context? Not 90%, not 99%, 100% responsibility. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to stop blaming and criticizing others and yourself? Are you willing to let go of being right? Are you willing to learning and curiosity rather than defending your ego? Are you willing to feel all of your feelings regarding this topic? Are you willing to reveal your withholds to others or a significant other? Are you willing to speak unarguably with others or a significant other? Are you willing to listen consciously? Are you willing to stop gossip around this person or around this particular topic? Are you really willing to let past issues, resolve past issues with all relevant parties? So let that all go, or resolve that in some way. Are you willing to do that with all relevant parties? Are you willing to clean up all broken agreements? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to renegotiate with the parts of this issue that you don't have a whole body yes to anymore? So with this one, it's really important. Listen to, is there part of you that wants to say yes and a part of you that wants to say no? And can we determine that and differentiate that and let go of the parts that no longer serve us? Sometimes it's not the whole relationship that doesn't serve us, it's this particular part that doesn't serve us. And are we willing to see that and speak to that clearly and renegotiate around that? Are you willing to move from entitlement to appreciation? Are you willing to pay attention to how this issue is here for your learning and development and your growth as a human being? Are you willing to let go of past resentment and replace it with appreciation? Are you willing to do that? This is a big one for a lot of people, particularly when it comes to more longer term relationships or friendships or work dynamics with colleagues. Letting go of past resentment and replace it with appreciation. Are you willing to not operate anymore in your zone of incompetence, competence, or excellence? Anything that is not your zone of genius. In other words, are you willing to operate only in your zone of genius? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go for that? Are you willing to move through this topic, issue, context with a sense of lightness, easefulness, and restfully, where you honor your rest and relaxation and honor your natural rhythms? Are you willing to honor your natural rhythms? Are you willing to consider the opposite of your story, the opposite side of your story, to be as true or not more true than your side of the story? Are you willing to release all wanting of approval, control, and security outside of you? All needing, wanting, or desiring all approval, control, and security that is outside of you, whether that's through a person, a business structure, a team dynamic, a family dynamic. Are you willing to let go of all beliefs of scarcity and really lean into a enoughness mindset and also a whole body sense of enoughness? Enough is enough. Are you willing to stop playing the win and lose game and really start looking at solutions for all parties involved? Are you willing to being the resolution and embodying this new way of being? If for some of these, there isn't a whole body yes, we can acknowledge and recognize you're not willing. And that is a celebration. Because if you're not willing, you're not. And we don't want to force willingness. We don't want to force change. When you will be willing for all of these, you'll be ready. And readiness and willingness are very much the same. When I speak to ready, it's not like I decide or someone decides you're ready now. It's simply the universe is kind of like, you're ready. This new phase, this new state, this is what's ready for you here. And you'll feel it in your system when that starts to happen. Again, there's most likely a fear that starts to arise and a real discomfort and a real resistance and dissatisfaction. Right? So we come back to the formula. If you are not willing, acknowledge this. It's very important to acknowledge this. We celebrate it if you're not willing. So acknowledge is like, cool, I acknowledge it, I'm not willing. The second step to your non-willingness in that moment is to allow. So acknowledge is kind of like someone is knocking on the door, you acknowledge that. The second step is you allow that. So you open the door and you allow that in, if you will. The third step is to really accept that you're not willing. So allowing and accepting are not the same. Allowing is it allowing to be there. Accepting is it wholeheartedly accepting that that's the way it is. So you might allow someone into your house or accept someone into your house at that point. Yeah. If we take the door analogy. 4, do you really appreciate now that you're not willing? So you only haven't let someone into the house. You're also very appreciative that they're there. In other words, you're very appreciative at this point that you're simply not willing, and you're appreciative of that, and your body telling you when you are willing. As your body is innately wise and intelligent, and we can't possibly force something that is simply not here in the system. And so we celebrate this if there's no willingness at this stage for this particular topic. And again, you can come back to this at any point and really start to feel into the change formula. So we're going to come back here and come back to this every time you feel you're ready and willing. And you can start to feel in this formula. So for every, for resistance, vision, dissatisfaction, and first steps, you can start to fill in the gaps. Ask yourself if you're willing, acknowledge if you're not willing. And this is how you continuously change your reality. It's a very practical tool of doing this. I will also upload a resource folder below where you can really walk through this step by step. And there's a bit more text and descriptor to this. For now, you get the gist, and you can always come back to this. You can always come back to this formula. And this is really your formula for how to invite in healthy change into your life.